Greetings, welcome everyone. I know this is the channel that is mostly reserved for David Crowley content, but since the channel I wanted to do this stream on, I can't stream there for another couple days because of a violation, another Trump video that I played there, and of course got struck down. So um, I will be streaming this here, and then I'll move it over to my other channel once I can get back into it. So this is episode 15 of The Invisible Enemy. For those of you who have been following episode number 1 through 14, we're all on are still currently on my other channel, my other YouTube channel, and I'll just go ahead and see if I can share that with everyone in case you haven't seen the first 14 episodes. They are on my other channel. So if you came here for David Crowley content, this show will not be about David Crowley content. Just want to throw that out there. Hopefully everyone can see this screen. But this is about the early days of COVID-19. That's what I'm going to be discussing here. So this is my other channel, Greg Fernandez Jr. This is where I normally would stream this type of content. So I have a bunch of stuff there. The Herschel Walker video, if you haven't seen that one, that's really good. And but the main thing that I've been covering for a book that I'm working on, that I probably have, I'd say about 80 or 90% of it done. So this is The Invisible Enemy, COVID-19. I even put that in the title. So as you can see right now, I currently have 14 episodes that are on that channel. This will be episode number 15. So I do apologize if anyone is confused here, came looking for some David Crowley content. I just need to record this and then I'll move it over to my other channel and figured why not go live, right? Doesn't hurt. Happy Sunday to everybody. Hope you're doing well. And of course, we have the live chat in case anybody does want to leave any comments or anything, or if anybody wants to jump in here and join me, I'm sure I can make that happen somehow. So that's where the other 14 episodes are if you do want to catch those. And I'm going to be reading from the actual book here just in a few minutes. So again, this is The Invisible Enemy, episode number 15. And I'm just going to scroll down to where we left off last time. Pretty much, let me do a screen share before I continue on with this. But there we go. Love StreamYard, by the way. Still finding my way with it, but absolutely love it. So this is what we're going to be covering. Hopefully, I'll wait till that shows up on the screen there. And we're going to go over, it's really not that much more left here. So, but we're going to continue on. A lot of this is the articles, just some articles that I found. So you can see even some of the dates are kind of out of order. But in the finished book, the dates will be kind of added. But you can see I went back and found some stuff from March, from May. So all of this here is kind of like extra things that I just happened to find. But the goal of this book is to just kind of remind people of those early days of the COVID-19. We know how things get shoved down the memory hole. So I figured I would go ahead and look into some of this stuff here. So this is an article from May 17, 2020. Ex-Mayo Clinic doctor Mohammed Massoud indicted on terrorism charge. So I don't know why I included that. Maybe it's just a clinical, maybe a clinic doctor. This other one from May 13th, the airborne lifetime of small speech droplets and their potential importance to SARS-CoV-2 transmission. So let's read what I have here from this article. This is just from an article, all sourced at the bottom. So most likely what I'll do is take some pieces, some bits of it, but obviously way back when in 2020, I felt this was really important. This is what the article says. This is the main thing here. Speech droplets generated by asymptomatic carriers of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, SARS-CoV-2, are increasingly considered to be a likely mode of disease transmission. Asymptomatic characters, again, people who have no symptoms, to the COVID-19. What about the people who do? This gets into, I can see why I made sure to include this here. This gets into some of the more stranger things regarding the COVID-19 issue way back when. Um, Speech droplets generated by asymptomatic carriers of severe acute respiratory syndrome are increasingly considered to be likely a mode of disease transmission. Highly sensitive laser light scattering observations have revealed that loud speech can emit thousands of oral fluid droplets per second. In a closed, stagnant air environment, they disappear from the window of view with time constraints in the range of 8 to 14 minutes, which corresponds to droplets nuclei of Ca.4 diameter or 12 to 21 droplets prior to dehydration. So that obviously makes a lot of sense to me. Anybody wants to translate this at some point, I'll leave this up on screen for a couple minutes. All right, so I'll come back to that one. But obviously, I felt this was really important. And I do feel like this is really important because this is around the time we were like, okay, so now we can't talk. Now we can't be loud. Now, the loud speech thing that we're looking at here correlates to me with the timing of not only shutting down everything that we've been looking at, shutting down the whole country, shutting down sports games, cheering in the Japanese wrestling during this time, or really not during this time. Once they get back in, it's probably a couple months after May, but um, when Japanese wrestling returned to stadiums before anybody else did, the Japanese, they were having people in the Tokyo Dome and everything, but the people could not cheer. They could clap with masks on, but they were not allowed to cheer. So that's pretty interesting. They were not allowed for any speech, not just loud speech, but any speech at all. So I found that pretty interesting too. And maybe you do too. So again, if you can translate that last sentence, please do. So we'll just look it up. So these observations confirm that there is a substantial probability that normal speaking causes airborne virus transmission in confined environments, office spaces, right? People, places where people are working, where people are kind of close together. This is where they get that whole 6 feet of separation, things like that, right? So that is from pnas.org. So I got the article right there. A lot of these articles I did make sure to back up into a PDF form because you just don't know. They may disappear at some point. So, and I also noted a related article. Loud talking can leave coronavirus in air for up to 14 minutes. So in the air for 14 minutes. So the masks, right? It's all the masks. Close everything down. Don't put people next to each other. All of this stuff, very early stuff here. And you do kind of wonder what type of tests were they actually doing? What is all of this based on? So we'll get into that. All coming. All right, let's see here. This is one I must have found a little earlier. So this one is actually from March 5th, 2020. So this would be an article or the content, whatever data that is here that I would then move up back into March, which we did cover in previous episodes. March 5th, 2020, another professor indicted over alleged secret ties to China. So these are interesting things because there was a lot of questions about where this virus came from. Was the China virus, the coronavirus, was this a attack that China did onto this country or onto the whole world, but really targeting this country, not just this country, obviously, but it really affected this country, I think, more than any other country, only because of how many people, how many things that were shut down. A lot of these other countries were already already bought into the New World Order. This, to me, just seemed like a clear attack on the presidency of Donald Trump. Not to say that it was just that attack, but so some of the cases that were coming up during this time were these indictments. And like we read above up here, this other ex-Mayo Clinic doctor indicted on terrorism charges. And then you have another professor, that's the name of the article, this article from campusreform.org, another professor indicted over alleged secret ties to China because they were finding a lot of Chinese spies during this time and they were indicting them. Of course, the indictments, didn't really mean that much unless you can find the person. But here we go. This is the name of the article. A professor at the University of Tennessee, this is one of the quotes from the article, excuse me. A professor at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, has been arrested for allegedly concealing his ties to a Chinese university. The professor, who has been suspended from UTK, received federal funds while concealing his foreign work. There you go. Pretty interesting, all these things that were happening. These are just the ones that we know about, that we hear about. And so there's the actual article right there. So you can see a lot of stuff on this has to be kind of reworked because just the way that the book is written. Excuse me. Ooh, I may need to sneeze here. Just getting back from a trip. 1 second. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. I will kind of probably edit that part out. But I just got back from a trip um, to see my dad and see him get married and everything. And all of these things always remind me of how precious life is and how short life is, and how as much time as we can spend with our family and be there for them under the right circumstances. And I was very happy to be there for my dad in this very special pivotal point in his life and a new phase of his life here. So when I think about my life and where I'm at now and the new phase that I'm in, there's other people going through new phases, hopefully positive phases in their life. And I was just so happy to be there. And I came back and I thought the ban on my other channel would be over, but it's not. So that's why I'm doing this this show here, because the times that I can do shows and things like this are very minimal lately. So I do apologize for that. Again, for anyone who's coming here expecting David Crowley content, I do apologize for that. But I just needed to get this out so I can get it added and then add it to my other channel, which the ban will probably be up in another couple days. So thank you all for, I do appreciate everyone who is here joining me for this. So I will go back and we will continue on. Yes, minimize that. All right. So we are now looking at here. Scroll. Have to move this over. Have to minimize that just so I can see it there. Okay, so I can read this. What do we have here? Okay, so this is, and again, right now we're on page 155 of the book, but obviously this is all going to get chopped down and cut up, some of the stuff at the end. This is May 19th. So here we go. Governor, this is to Governor Newsom. Who is this from? Oh, this is pretty long. Well, oh, this is from the Assistant Attorney General, the Civil Rights Division. So this is where they're shutting, this is a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom, wanting to shut down everything. Let me see how much of this I can read here. Dear Governor Newsom, we are writing you to raise several civil rights concerns with the treatment of places of worship in Executive Orders N-33-20 and N-60-20 and documents relating to the California reopening plan. Of course, we recognize the duty that you have to protect the health and safety of Californians in the face of a pandemic that is unprecedented in our lifetimes. You and other leaders around the country are called on to balance multiple competing interests and evaluate constantly changing information available to you about COVID-19 and make your best judgment on courses of action. Attorney General William P. Barr recently issued a statement on religious practice and social distancing in conjunction with the Mississippi case in which the Department of Defense participated regarding restrictions on worship. In the statement, Attorney General emphasized the need to practice social distancing to control the spread of COVID-19. He also noted that temporary restrictions that would be unacceptable in normal circumstances may be justified. But, quote, even in times of emergency, when reasonable and temporary restrictions are placed on rights, the First Amendment and federal statutory law prohibits discrimination against religious institutes and religious believers. Thus, government may not impose special restrictions on religious activity that do not also apply to similar non-religious activity. Simply put, there is no pandemic exception to the U.S. Constitution and its Bill of Rights. Wow, pretty powerful statement there. Maybe some of you don't know kind of the background of what this is all about, but they were pretty much putting in special circumstances, special rules to churches and places for worship in California. So this was kind of a warning letter to Gavin Newsom to let him know that's not right. Laws that do not treat religious activities equally with comparable non-religious activities are subject to heightened scrutiny under the Free Exercise Clause of the First Amendment. That's pretty interesting stuff there. So let's see. I'm just going to read through a little bit of this. See if there's any good, powerful things that stand out. But a lot of this book, again, is things like this, documents. Very dry. It can be very dry. If anyone who's read my books knows, they can be dry. Very dry reading, very textbook reading. Has always been the goal that I've kind of strived for, the journalistic textbook type reading, not the entertainment things like that. So sorry. May not be too entertaining, but the facts will be there, the information will be there, and that's what's important to me. Let's see. The Department of Justice does not seek to dictate how states, such as California, determine what degree of activity and personal interaction should be allowed to protect the safety of their citizens. However, we are charged with upholding the Constitution and federal statutory protections for civil rights. Whichever level of restrictions you adopt, these civil rights protections mandate equal treatment of persons and activities of a secular and religious nature. There can't be special punishments for the religious, quote unquote, religious area. According to the Constitution, seems pretty interesting, knowing where the Constitution came from. Let's read a little bit more. Religion and religious worship continue to be central to the lives of millions of Americans. This is true now more than ever. Religious communities have rallied to protect their communities from the spread of this disease by making services available online, in parking lots, or outdoors, by indoor services with the majority of pews empty, and in numerous other creative ways that otherwise comply with social distancing and sanitation guidelines. We believe, for the reason outlined above, the Constitution calls for California to do more to accommodate religious worship, including in stage 2 of the reopening plan. And we did cover that reopening plan, Gavin Newsom's plan to reopen, flatten the curve, and then, he had all these phases that we were going to go through. And what this is all about basically is that, it's rules for some and not for others is kind of the gist that I get from this. But even at our church that I was attending to back then, They went to online services pretty quickly. I think a lot of California churches did too, and ours didn't really take a big hit. I think some other ones did, especially the smaller ones with older and wiser members of of those particular churches. They really had to play catch up to it, and it was a test of everybody's faith to see, well, what are people gonna do? Are they gonna stop going? I mean, I wasn't afraid to go to church. It was one of the only places I was like, yeah, definitely, I want to be there. I want to be inside of the church as long as they'll let us. And once they started, mandating the mask and things like that, I knew I couldn't do it. I could not no longer I could no longer go to church. I'm not going to sit in church wearing a mask. That's just not going to happen ever. So that was my choice. They had the online service, and we did watch online, and then things happened, and we were able to find a different church. And I still watch that other church online too, but to be able to attend a church in person is, to me, is very different. Nothing. I have no issue with online church services and things like that, but uh, there is a difference. There is, at least for me spiritually, there's been a big difference. So this is interesting. This came up because this is Sunday here today. I just got out of church service, and we had another great sermon. We're on one Peter, chapter 2 right now, and talking about fitness, spiritual fitness, and how to be spiritually fit. Pastor was saying, people spend a lot of time being physically fit, and how much time do millions of people in this country spend money? How much money do they spend? And how much time do they spend trying to get physically fit and everything? But how much time do we spend trying to get spiritually fit, right? Trying to be spiritually fit for Jesus Christ. And maybe I'll find my notes from today and kind of go through it, since it's relevant. I feel like it's relevant to what we're reading here. So happens to be Sunday, and that's how God works. So you can probably hear me, can't see me, but I'll find my notes. All right. Here we go. Oh, hey, Sophia. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Glad to be back home after my long trip, and it was fun. Hope you're doing well. And I'm just talking about COVID-19. Can't use the queue. I don't care about that. But if you want to come on, let me know. I'll send you the link. I don't know if it's the same as last time or not, but I've just been doing this COVID series. Like I've been telling people, I've been doing this on the other channel, and but this is like one of my only opportunities to really try to record this next episode here. So I decided I'll do it right now. So let's see. From the church service today, this was the Living Hope from 1 Peter. And it's all about growing in Christ, growing up to salvation, work on your spiritual fitness, which is what I'm doing currently, and hopefully always. Lay aside those evil things, which is another thing I'm trying to do too. A great thing the pastor mentioned today that was a big reminder to me is, about calling out people, even if they have, issues, even if their issues are really bad. Sometimes, we don't need to call them out. We need to deal with that in a wise spiritual way. These are all things that I'm learning. I mean, this is why I love going to church, because it's such a reminder. And it's like, for me, it's one of the best ways God can reach me and kind of knock on my head and say, don't forget this, don't forget that. Hey, are you doing this? Are you doing these things wrong? What are we working on today? It's kind of my thing. So, and what else? Get rid of the filth. That was a big one that the pastor mentioned today. By the way, this is a book. During all of the church services, I always take notes, and one day I will, probably when I retire, I will write book on a lot of this stuff, the more spiritual stuff. Actually, one of the other books that I am working on is Grandma Loves Jesus, and was based on all of my grandma's notes from her church services in some of her last days, and that'll be an interesting series. Once I finish this COVID-19 series, I'll be jumping into that on my other channel too. Um, so again, I apologize for anybody here that was hoping for David Crowley content. This is the invisible enemy, the early days of COVID-19. So appreciate everybody being here. And if you have any comments, please drop them in the chat. And, I will definitely do what I'm doing here right now. This is what I love about StreamYard. Anybody who makes a comment here, I could just put it right up there. I was talking with Catherine the other day, kind of showing her some of the things. And Catherine, I will be contacting you very soon here too. And there's banners, so we can run like a banner at the bottom. I'm looking forward to doing that. So that will be fun stuff. So lots of things in the future, but just for right now. So the pastor was talking about getting rid of the filth. Don't live in a life where you're play acting. Don't be a hypocrite. This is a very big challenge for all of us. Play acting. Obviously, we don't want to be play acting. And we don't want to be hypocritical. We're all sinners. We all mess up. We all do things that we shouldn't do. There are many times I can look back in my life and say, man, that was wrong. That was wrong. If I could go back in time, I would change that. But you know what? The reason why these things happen is so that I can learn from them. If I'm not learning from them, if I'm not moving forward, if I'm not recognizing it, these sins that I do, these things that I do wrong, if I'm not recognizing them and moving forward, then I'm not really moving forward. So, and you can proclaim that privately. You can proclaim that just to God. Don't have to proclaim it to people. Don't have to put it on social media, anything like that. But we do need to recognize the things that we do wrong. Just God knows. God knows where he wants us. He has us right where he wants us right now. He's teaching us things. He's showing us things. And the COVID-19 was a big, big thing. I mean, for me in my life, this was, and maybe for you too, this was one of the most trying times here. And it was so different and it was so experimental and so new. Yet I felt like I was ready for it. I was talking with my friend Eric Spitfire Wilkinson, and he had me on one of his shows, and he was asking, asking everybody like, when this happened, were you ready? Do you feel like you were ready? And I was like, yeah, I did. I feel like we've been preparing for this. Reading the Bible, reading the scripture prepares you for all of these evils that are yet to come, all of these evils that we're dealing with on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis. He is preparing us. Reading the Bible is so fascinating. Yeah, you can read the Bible and be prepared for things that are going to happen in your life in the future. It's pretty interesting to me. So yeah, the main thing was getting rid of all evil in your life. Who can do that? Who can do that? That's the goal, right? We set these impossible goals, knowing just like we set these things where we say, well, we're going to stop sinning. We're going to stop sinning, but you can't. We are sinners. We're natural born sinners. And the only way we can be saved is through Jesus Christ. Look at what he had to go through to save us from ourselves. It's a pretty interesting thought, pretty interesting theory. And like I said, I'm only bringing this up because this is relevant to what we are reading here about Governor Gavin Newsom's restrictions and the bias, some of the things that he was forcing the churches and the quote unquote religious institutes to do that he was not forcing elsewhere. That is a big, big problem. So that's what this letter is. It's just a slap on the wrist, really. It's like, hey, let's not do this. I mean, what is the federal government gonna do to the state of California? What would they do? I don't know. Let's see. These are some of my other notes, and then we'll move on here. Try to learn something new when you go to church. That was another thing that the pastor was talking about. Try to learn something new. And that's why I take these notes. That's why I take all of these notes here to remind myself of these things. What is new, what is old. We need to keep growing. We need to study, keep studying the power of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Spend more time being spiritually fit than physically fit. All right. So that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm doing. So I do feel like every time I'm in church that I learn. I wouldn't go to a church if I didn't feel like that. If I went to a church and it was just the same old, or I was falling asleep, or I was on my phone, or I wasn't engaged, I would stop going to that church. I may give them a shot, may give them one chance, two chances, but that's it. Um, there are churches out there for you. It's not always easy to find, but you pray about it, and if that's where God wants you, he'll find one for you. There's plenty of churches out there. Maybe he doesn't want you in the church. I don't know. That's between you and God. But if that's the case, he'll put obstacles so that you won't be able to go to church. But there's nothing that happens that he is not allowing to happen, doesn't want to happen. And there's a reason to make us spiritually fit, right? When you think of going into a gym and you look at that heavy weight that you're lifting up, it's difficult. Think of it in a spiritual sense too. We're in a spiritual gym and we are having these issues. We lift up these issues and we resist them, we fight them, and it makes us stronger, right? If we don't even go there, well, it's like in a gym. If you go to a gym and you just look around, you see these heavy weights, you're like, nah, I'm good. I'll just sit here and sit on my phone or just do the easy stuff, you're not really going to be physically fit. And with spirituality, it's the same thing, and it's difficult in these days, man. I feel bad for the kids that are growing up in this world nowadays. Like the focus when back in my time on Jesus and on God and on church was a lot bigger than I think it is now. We're going to get to that point where going to church is going to be frowned upon. It's going to be a bad thing, you know. But maybe we're already there. I don't know. So basically, the message was to make spiritual fitness a priority. That was the thing that I got out of today's sermon. That's what I learned. So, and then I will get back to screen sharing here. Mute myself. Okay. All right. So that is kind of the basis of this. Let's see if there's anything else. Thank you for your prompt attention. This matter. She wishes us first. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. They're not going to discuss it. They're going to write it off right there. So what else do we have here? Oh, now we got the math. We got some more of the math stuff. Let's get into that a little bit. May 7th, 2020. New facial recognition tech only needs your eyes and eyebrows. Ooh, isn't that something? What a great way to test it out during a pandemic. There you go. Yeah. Great way to take advantage of a situation, right? You won't be able to hide behind a mask. This is from 10.medium.com. New facial recognition tech only needs your eyes and eyebrows. Isn't that interesting? Wow. And they can detect you because we're all different, I guess, right? So I'm definitely going to go and pull some data from there, pull some facts from there, and see what we can come up with. May 20th, 2020, CDC now says coronavirus does not spread easily on surfaces. Wow, isn't that interesting? That is from the New York Post. I feel like maybe we should read that one. Maybe we should maybe we should read this other one, the 1-0. That seems pretty interesting. So I will go and probably won't be able to see this here. Pull this article up. So we're getting used to the switching where we stop screen sharing and then we screen share. So go back here. This is why you need two screens. Anyone who's using StreamYard, definitely make sure you have two screens. Gonna make things a lot easier to transition back and forth. Let's kind of read through a little bit of this one here. And pull that. All right. Okay, it looks like it's up on the screen. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger for my blind eyes here. Can always go depending on, there's usually a place where you can just kind of grab the text to avoid all that. Oh, that's okay. Okay, this is from May 7th, 2020. David Gershgorn. New facial recognition tech only needs your eyes and eyebrows. You won't be able to hide behind a mask because people want to hide. Oh, you got to get the free account. Oh, of course. Okay, well, I guess that's not going to work. Sorry. Did want to show you guys that one, but guess we won't be able to. That's okay. We'll go on to the next one here because I'm sure there's more. That we want to cover. So let me go back to screen share, window, COVID-19. Yeah, I use that word. That's fine. Okay, so now let's look at this other one from the New York Post. I don't know if we can grab this one too or not. I'm going to try it. New York Post. Okay. Stop sharing there. And we'll start sharing this New York Post article. This looks like it did load. I think there's ads running right now. Let those ads go. All right. So, oh, good. Oh, and X can X out of there too. All right. More ads. All these ads. Read aloud on this page. Now, enter immerse reader. That's what you want. Enter immerse reader. So if you're in Edge, sometimes you'll see that with articles. You can just get rid of all of the fluff and guff. Okay. All right. So I don't know if y'all can. Hopefully y'all can see this right now. No, doesn't look like you can. All right. So go again. Oh, because I switched to immerse reader, maybe. All trial and error, good people. All right, here we go. CDC. Let's see what the CDC said. And again, this was back in May. Oh, there you go. Look at some of these images. Interesting. CDC now says coronavirus does not spread easily on surfaces, when before they were saying it does. So there you go. There's all the people waiting in line. That seemed like a horrible situation. Thankfully, I didn't really have that issue. There were a few times where I went to Whole Foods and we had to wait in line, similar to this, but not that many people. But we just overbought. We bought a lot more because I did not want to have to go back there. And yes, I did go into Whole Foods wearing a mask. And no, I was not happy about it. And yes, I did feel like I was having some panic attacks and things like that. But I had to do it for my family. And not proud of it, but I'm also not ashamed of it. So let's see. What the heck? Did they take it down? Let me X out of that. That'll probably take me out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. All right, here we go. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this here. And I was running some weird ads. No, I don't want to sign up. Don't need to do anything. I just want to read the article. All right. Looks like, here we go. The U.S. Center for Disease and Control and Prevention now says coronavirus did not spread easily through touching the surfaces of objects. What is the date again? May 20th. Okay, May 20th. In early March, these ads are nuts. Okay, in early March, the Federal Health Agency was warning that it, quote, may be possible, end quote, to pass on the virus from contaminated surfaces, according to Fox News. Its guidelines now include a section on ways the virus doesn't easily spread, including from touching surfaces or objects. It may be possible that a person can get COVID-19 by touching a surface or object that has the virus on it, and then touching their own mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes. The CDC webpage states. These ads drive me crazy, guys. This is not thought to be the main way the virus spreads, but we are still learning more about this virus. Yeah, and May 20, I mean, what do they really know about this virus? Even though, but this was way past the 2 weeks to flatten the curve thing. So I put it in print mode. I could probably see it better. That's all right. Whatever. Other ways the virus doesn't easily spread are from animals to people or people to animals. CDC updated webpage states. It's unclear when the CDC updated its guidance. The agency didn't immediately respond to the post request for comment. The agency continues to note that the virus is thought to mainly spread from person to person, even from those not showing symptoms, asymptomatic. Again, big fear porn scam here. Anybody could have it. We all could have it. It's just, it's interesting. The asymptomatic thing was what took me a while to understand. Okay, these ads are just, this is just ridiculous. Okay, where I'm at. Specifically, it mainly spreads between people who are in close contact within 6 feet of each other. When someone with the infection coughs, sneezes, or talks, causing droplets to land in another person's mouth or nose. And we know in some cases that is not true, because you have had cases where people will live in the same house and not everybody gets it. So they're well within 6 feet of each other and still not getting it. But then they say, well, they have to have infectious coughs, sneezes, or talks, right? Because nobody talks to each other in their own house, apparently. So this, I mean, to me, this just really shows how little we knew about coronavirus back then, and how they've continued, even though some of these articles contradict each other, as we've seen in these episodes. We're still seeing a lot of contradictions. We're still seeing a lot of, basically, they're saying, we don't know. We don't know. So this is how we're going to keep you safe. Take away your rights, take away your freedom to talk. You have to wear a mask, can't be within 6 feet of people, all of this stuff, right? When they're trying to say these are preventative measures, but they're reactive because COVID has already happened. They're reacting to it. They're not doing things to prevent it. And we can see that. People started getting the shots, the second shot, the booster shot, and they still get it. They still get COVID. I've never gotten it. I've never taken a shot. I never will. I put my faith in God. If God wants me to die from coronavirus, it's going to happen. There's nothing that I can do to stop that. But this is where your faith comes in, as we've been talking about here. This is a test of our spiritual will, of our spiritual faith. Where do we put our faith in? In the WHO, in the CDC, or in God? I hope that this, there's a lot of bad things that came out of this, obviously. But I do hope that there was some good things that came out of this. And I do hope that one of those good things, the main good thing, the only thing that I would want to come out of this is you build a relationship with Jesus Christ. And there are people out there that's exactly what happened. And I'm very thankful for that. And I'm sure other Christians are too, because what could be better? Out of the tragedies always come that light. When things get dark and you see just a little bit of light, that light shines brighter than if things were just okay and not so dark. Light shines better in the dark, shadows and light. Let's see here. Should be a little bit more. Some of those ads are just driving me nuts. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA said last month there was no evidence to suggest the virus can spread through food or what it's wrapped in, and that there was no need to wipe down groceries. Isn't that interesting there? Isn't that very interesting there? Obviously, the FDA, who approves GMO foods, who approves things that probably should not be approved. It's not just food, it's drugs. There you go. So they're in charge of all of that. Look at what they're doing to this country. Look at what they're telling us is okay and what is not okay. How many natural things are not, quote unquote, FDA approved? But look at what they're saying here. There's no evidence as of May 20th, 2020, to suggest the virus can spread through food or what it's wrapped in. There was no need to wipe down groceries. I would agree, but I mean, maybe not for the same reasons. The biggest issue is that people are picking up COVID-19 from other people. That's according to Marilyn Roberts, a microbiologist and professor at the University of Washington. They're not picking it up from surfaces. Well, there you go. It's not from the surfaces. Where is it from, right? But yet they wipe down. I mean, I'm sure every grocery store you go into, they're wiping down those surfaces, wiping down these things. I think since 2020, there's been this weird smell that I've smelled in the air in several states. And it's kind of like, when you do laundry, when you dry your clothes and there's that vent and that smell goes out of that vent, almost like a chemical smell. That's what I've been smelling at certain places, especially at like Target and things like that. It's this very distinctive smell that if it wasn't in the winter, if it wasn't in certain periods of time, I would think, well, it's from the flowers blooming, et cetera, et cetera. We have flowers that are blooming now. It smells like this lotion smell. I don't know if I could pick one of these out or not without messing everything up. Maybe not. So kind of like this, these have an awesome smell, great smell. And I was walking around today after my trip and was like, what is that smell? It smells like like a really good lotion smell. And it's the flowers blooming, right? These are natural things. But what I was smelling back then was not what I would say was natural. And why was it only in certain areas? Are they spraying things in the air now to, quote unquote, to help with the COVID-19 thing, right? I mean, I believe they've been spraying for years and years. And now there's this weird smell associated with it. So right or wrong or indifferent, does not matter. So let me say it does not matter in the end. As I pull this back up, hopefully everybody can see this. Oh, wait. There we go. Okay, so that's the other article. Trump on, this is from April 4th. Yeah, so I definitely need to kind of go back and readjust some of these articles. And again, the 14 episodes, maybe the first 13 episodes were kind of all pretty much in chronological order. And you can see at this point, I'm just grabbing any article that I can. So I must be running out of things. They're kind of like scrambling here. And, you know, again, this is a very pivotal point in my life too. Let's see, what is Sophia? Sophia says, I smell smoke all the time, and it's part of the head injury that I received when I was in the military. It messes with my sense of smell. Interesting. You have to tell me more about that, maybe privately or later on. But that's pretty interesting. And yeah, okay. Let me see how I can invite you here to Sophia, I'll try to send it to you on Facebook if that's okay, on Messenger. It's just easier for my computer here. Hopefully you can access your Messenger and join. And again, if anybody else does want to join in for a couple minutes at least. So, Sophia, hopefully you got that there. And we'll continue on. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. Or it's that not the, it's a fabric softener smell that I've been smelling. And I'm like, what is this smell? What is this smell? Why am I smelling this? As soon as I walk into a building or something, or even with our whole Amazon packages, every package we get from Amazon has this same smell. So if you've gotten a package from Amazon in 2021 or 2022, do you smell it too? I'd be curious to hear. You know, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Do you smell what Amazon is cooking? Because I smell something there. I smell something there. So, um, let's see. While we're waiting for Sophia to join in, let's see. You guys can see. Okay, you can see they are from April 4th, 2020. Trump on coronavirus outbreaks. This was artificially induced. This is a big article because this is a big statement here. I mean, it's like, why were they mad that Trump was saying this? This was artificially induced. This is not something that just happened, that just, you know, came out of the blue or anything, right? So, all right, peeps. Well, actually, I think I have to shut this one down for now, but I will try to be back here later on. Sorry, Sophia, I just had something come up right now. I need to jump off, but God bless you all. I will try to be back here, episode number 15.